If you've known a lot of people pleasers, a lot of people who come across as the nice guy, can also be the nice girl, people who go out of their way to help and please others as if others mattered more than they do themselves, then you might have noticed there's a certain correlation of people having those personality traits with being used, stepped on, disrespected by other people. But why is that? Why do so many people disrespect the nice guy? Why do so many people use the nice guy? And I'm using the term guy, but I'm not trying to be sexist one way or the other. So this can apply equally to women. Well, people who only know how to put others' needs first, people who are more worried about how others are doing rather than their own well being, that signals to people that the person lacks a certain sense of self respect. And it's it's really embedded in human nature, this thing where a lot of people just find it's hard to really respect somebody if they don't respect themselves. And so if you come across as excessively people pleasing, excessively self sacrificing, it's almost like you don't have self respect. Of course, it's one thing to be nice to people, it's one thing to be courteous, it's one thing to want to get on with people, to have fair and balanced relationships. All that is great, fair and balanced, reciprocated. But the nice guy, the nice girl, the person who's excessively people pleasing, it's like these people are all too willing to have one sided relationships with people where they give, 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 and expect nothing in return. And then these people are often used, often attracting toxic people into their lives. And then they wonder, why am I always attracting toxic people into my lives? Well, if one were to observe their own behavior, then they would realize, well, it's because through your actions, through your behaviors, through your way of interacting with people, you are demonstrating at many levels that you don't really have a sense of self respect for yourself. Because a lot of people get into this mindset where there's something righteous or something very noble about being overly giving. Of course, it's good to be giving, it's good to have a give and take, it's good to be balanced. But when you're overly giving, when you're overly self sacrificing, when you're overly people pleasing, then that demonstrates a strong sense of lacking self respect and also lacking self esteem, self worth, where you're basically attracting abusive behaviors from people. You tend to attract a lot of toxic people because you're basically signaling to these people that you're willing to be abused because you are a giver. You are going to treat people nicely no matter how they treat you. You know, whereas in fact, you should think, okay, I'm not really going to correspond with people if they treat me badly. I don't have to please everybody. Sometimes I need to focus more inwards and try to have a fair and balanced way about myself and a fair and balanced way of interacting with others. And then you have a whole other category of nice guys or nice girls or overly nice people who are actually just being covertly manipulating. Because a lot of people are not being authentic. There's a lack of authenticity, a lack of genuineness, where they put on this facade of just trying to people please and everything, but it's actually coming from a place where they want to be seen as the most righteous person in the room so that others perceive them more favorably. It is a form of covert manipulation. So there's something about being too nice, too willing to help without wanting anything in return that almost, again, it doesn't seem authentic. But it's not necessarily coming from a place where you don't have self-respect, but it's almost like people interpret that as coming from a place of being covertly manipulative, which again can be off-putting, or you can just attract, if you have this certain imbalance about yourself, you might attract other people that have a certain imbalance, being toxic people. They might have a certain imbalance in a different part of their life, which is where you're overly people pleasing to try to get people to like you. They can be overly absorbing your people pleasing qualities and behaviors so that they can then use you to do certain things for them, where you might correspond just to get them to like you more. And they kind of at some level know that, yeah, you're being nice to them because they're trying to get you to like them. So they're going to set the bar higher. So you do more for them. And then they reciprocate by treating you nicely. And you get into this toxic cycle where you're trying to get somebody to like you. And then they're using you because they know that you're trying to get them to like you. And they get you to do all types of things for them because you're focusing all your attention and helping them get their needs met with you, and so on. So a lot of people, a lot of people are on the opposite of the spectrum. They just couldn't care less. They just do their thing. They're inwardly oriented. And then other people are very outwardly oriented in the sense where they're trying to make everybody feel good, feel happy. But then a lot of times those people end up attracting toxic people or getting stepped on, or even they're disrespected by neurotypicals. Sometimes the people who disrespect you, the people who aren't actually treating you well, are not even toxic people per se, because even healthy people can have negative behaviors sometimes, because nobody's perfect. All of us sometimes have certain behaviors that aren't perfect. And sometimes when you're overly nice, overly trying to people please, you could even trigger in normal people the fact that you're coming across somebody who's either not very authentic or somebody who's got no self-respect. And while they might correspond with you on, you know, on a decent level, they might also find themselves trying to use you a little bit, because it's almost like you're asking to be used through your behaviors, and so on. So if you want to be a good person, if you want to do good to people, then that doesn't mean you have to be only giving. That doesn't mean that you have to have one-way relationships where you give, you receive nothing in return. It doesn't mean you have to be an excessive people pleaser or self-sacrificer, the nice guy, the nice girl, however you want to put it. Like, it's a lot of people do that kind of stuff, and they don't realize they themselves are being manipulative. It's just not a very balanced way of going about yourself. So be nice, be balanced, find a healthy place in yourself. And too much of anything is not good. Even too much giving, even too much self-sacrificing.